You can't book me.
Welcome to Book It a Wrestling Podcast for the fans, by the fans, where we book, rebook, and revisit your favorite wrestling storylines. I'm your Commissioner Lil X Fudge, and today we're here with your GMs, Damone D Money,
still kicking in Uranus,
the bad guy Kenny.
Oh yeah,
I am Travie T.
Oh, I thought I was in danger, but I think
High five, Mike.
wow, fucking party on, Garth. Piece of shit.
And Maxwell Joseph Freeman.
Greetings, fellow travelers.
Tonight, Book It Verse is back. We are continuing on through Book It Verse 5, round 2. I am Travie T. Has got some unfinished business and some unfinished booking, so he's got a couple more matches for us to wrap up his show. So to catch up the audience, Travie, what's the show? What's been going on, and where are we now?
All right, this is KOC Coronation. Here at King of Combat, we like to do we do 5 3-night festivals a year. That's where instead of doing like pay-per-views, we do festivals. So this festival is called Coronation, and so thus far in night 1, this will be the second part of night 1 for y'all listening. So the first part was the Briscoes versus the Grizzled Young Vets versus the American Wolves. The Briscoes retained their titles in an Ultimate X match. We also got Masha Slamovich versus Billy Starks, and Masha was able to win that match. And then we had Zillifa 2 versus Andrade, and Zillifa 2 came out victorious. So, that being said, let's get into the next contest. All right. On the first episode of Clash Post No Remorse, Arturo Huas opens the show with a video package with a number of announcements, one of which is the return of the second annual Hélio Gracie Memorial Invitational Tournament, a 16-man submission grappling tournament designed to honor the memory of the founder of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. The winner of the tournament would receive $500,000. Huas says that the tournament will be different this year, as he would be expanding the pool of invited athletes to include members of KOC's sister promotions, TCW and BBW, bringing together the greatest athletes and technicians this business has to offer. Without further ado, let's announce the official first-round matches. Also, I'm going to tell y'all right now, this is a long-ass build, so buckle up. Dean Malenko versus Charlie Dempsey, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Matt Riddle, Lance Storm versus Owen Hart, Jamie Noble versus Eugene, Steve Corino versus Pete Dunne, Josh Alexander versus Abe Lincoln, Timothy Thatcher versus Oni Lorcan, and Christopher Daniels versus Chavo Guerrero Jr. The tournament will kick off next week on Clash and will culminate at Coronation. Best of luck to all of the competitors in the tournament. Later that night, fresh off his unsuccessful attempt at dethroning Hiroshi Tanahashi as the King of Combat, Bret Hart comes to the ring for a promo. As his music hits, the crowd roars. Hart comes out and heads to the ring. Hart stands in the center of the ring and lets the crowd cheer and chant for him. Then he looks at the ground and shakes his head vigorously before snapping his attention to the crowd as he says, "No, you don't get to cheer me. You're the reason this business is in the shape that it is." Bret goes on to blame the fans for the style of wrestling that's popularized today, saying that simply seeing who the better man wasn't enough to satiate the fans' bloodlust anymore. Now we have guys leaping off of concourses, throwing themselves through flaming tables, mutilating themselves with thumbtacks, flinging their bodies around like their lives mean nothing, and yet you people chant for more. Bret says that he has made it his mission to cleanse the industry of the impurities that have plagued it for too long. Hart then says he's amassed a collection of talents that agree with his ideology, that see the path that he is set on forging, and want to follow his lead to cleanse the industry. Bret Hart introduces the Masters, the finest professional wrestlers in the world today. Dean Malenko, Taz, Chavo Guerrero Jr., and Kerry Von Erich. The 5 men stand in the ring to finish the promo. Later in the night, reigning King of Combat Hiroshi Tanahashi makes his way to the ring for a promo. Before Tanahashi can say much of anything, Josh Alexander's music hits, and he comes to the ring. Alexander circles Tanahashi, who watches him, amused. Finally, Alexander stops right in front of the ace. Eye to eye, nose to nose. I was this close. I was this close to getting that! Alexander shouts as he jabs a finger into the KOC title. I was so close I could taste it. But I let my emotions get ahead of me, and because of that, now you're going to face Nick Aldis at Coronation. I know Nick Aldis doesn't have what it takes to take you down, Tanahashi. He's just not ruthless enough. I know that you can't take your crown without taking your head with it. And I don't think Aldis is willing to go to that dark place to get the job done. But look me in my eyes when I say this, Ace. I will. I will end your career if that's the only way I get to become King of Combat. I know I'm the one that's supposed to take you out, and I know one day I'll get that opportunity. And when I do, you better kiss that title goodbye. Tanahashi smirks and then nods as he looks out to the crowd. Josh, I'll be honest. I don't know if what you're saying is accurate. I don't know that Nick Aldis doesn't have what it takes to be the King of Combat, but more importantly, I don't know that you do. Tanahashi and Alexander stare at each other for a moment, intensely for a moment, as the ace lets the last line sit with the crowd for a moment before continuing. But I'm willing to find out. The crowd erupts. Do you want to see if Josh Alexander can beat me and become the new King of Combat right here tonight? The crowd goes nuts and bananas for this possibility. What do you say, Josh? You want a chance at proving you mean what you say? Tanahashi extends his hand to Josh Alexander. Alexander is hesitant as he looks down at Tanahashi's hand before he fires up and shakes it. Tonight, I'm going to beat you, and then I'm going to Coronation to right my wrongs from this past weekend. The two men face off with Tanahashi holding the title up above his head to end the segment. Later that night in the main event, Tanahashi stays true to his word and gives Josh Alexander a shot at becoming the King of Combat. Alexander and Tanahashi start the match slowly, feeling each other out at first. In the early exchanges, Josh Alexander looks game, getting the upper hand in the majority of the back and forths. Tanahashi picks up the pace, keeping Alexander on the back foot, and Alexander gets frustrated. Alexander starts rushing because he's wrestling on emotion rather than relying on his skills. Alexander begins making mistakes, and Tanahashi makes him pay for every single one. Alexander goes for a wild lariat, but Tanahashi dives into a somersault under Alexander's arms to evade it. Alexander turns to pivot and tweaks his knee in the process, dropping down to one knee. Tanahashi hits the ropes and comes back, blasting Alexander with a frog crossbody as Alexander limps to his feet. Tanahashi leaps to the top rope before crashing down on Alexander with his patented frog splash, high fly low. Tanahashi hooks the leg for the pin and the win, beating Alexander clean. Alexander is visibly upset as he slams his fist into the canvas before trying to stand up, just to immediately favor the knee and drop back down. Medical personnel come down to help Alexander to the back. Meanwhile, Tanahashi looks on from the ring, being respectful to his opponent and not celebrating his victory. Out of nowhere, Bret Hart blasts Tanahashi with the KOC title in the back of the head. The Masters fill the ring and all 5 men proceed to lay into the ace with stiff stomps. Nick Aldis, Nigel McGuinness, Kyle Fletcher, and Will Ospreay hit the ring and make the save, sending the Masters fleeing through the crowd. The Masters open the next week's episode of Clash in the ring for a promo. Hart begins by explaining that he's not giving up on becoming the new King of Combat. He tells Tanahashi he's coming for him, and what happened last week is only the beginning. Hart then moves his focus to the Hélio Gracie Memorial Tournament. Hart pulls Malenko and Guerrero forward and tells them that they are the very best this industry has to offer, and having 2 Masters in the tournament, he expects nothing less than a Masters victory. Both men acknowledge this order, and Malenko takes the mic to talk about his first-round match. Charlie Dempsey, wise beyond your years, more skilled than I was at your age, more skilled than your father was at your age. But understand me when I say this. Oh, I lost my place. But understand me when I say this. You're still not skilled enough to get past me. I will break you, Charlie. I will make you wish you never accepted the invitation into this tournament. I will make you regret ever following your stupid father's footsteps into this industry at all. The Iceman drops the mic and delivers his patented soulless stare into the camera. Later in the night, Charlie Dempsey is seen backstage, warming up for this match, when Bret Hart and Kerry Von Erich approach him from either direction. Von Erich flanks Dempsey's back while Hart talks to him. Charlie, pleasure to meet you. My name's Bret. Bret extends his hand and Charlie looks at it before saying, I know who you are and I know why you're here. I thought the man of 1,000 holds would want to beat me clean to show he's the better man. Guess I was wrong since he sent you two here to take me out before the match even starts. Bret laughs and retracts his hand. I'm not here on anyone's orders because nobody gives me orders. I'm just here to talk. Wish you luck even. I know you're going against one of my friends, but I just see so much potential in you, Charlie. You embody everything the Masters want to bring back to the professional wrestling. Ferocity, technical excellence, resilience, and a strong ring IQ. You just need someone with the experience and wisdom to help you put all those pieces together in the right order. Kerry Von Erich speaks up. That's where we come in. Bret continues. Together, we can all benefit. The Masters get a hungry young lion to mold in our image, essentially creating a succession plan, grooming an heir to the kingdom that is this industry. And you get next level leadership and structure that you can't find anywhere else. You get to sit under the learning tree, soak in all of our collective experiences. You'll be head of your peers. You'll be king of combat one day. Bret's smile widens. All we need you to do now is sacrifice your immediate spoils for the greater good. And in turn, you'll be rewarded exponentially throughout your career. Charlie looks conflicted, but Bret smacks his shoulder to reassure him. I don't need an answer right now. I just need you to do the right thing in your match tonight. Later in the night, Malenko and Dempsey meet in the ring for their submission match to settle the score. Early on, Malenko's the more skilled man, but what Dempsey lacks in skill and experience, he makes up with heart. Malenko grows increasingly frustrated with Dempsey's refusal to give up as the match grows. Deep in the match, Malenko has gained full control and seems to be inching in on the kill. Malenko has Dempsey down and out on the canvas in the center of the ring. Malenko goes to lock Dempsey in the Texas Cloverleaf, but as he goes to turn Dempsey over, Dempsey, in a last-ditch effort, shifts his body weight and drops Malenko face first to the canvas with a drop toe hold. Dempsey scrambles and locks in a sloppy regal stretch and cinches it in deep. Malenko's eyes widen in panic as he tries to pry Dempsey's grip with his free hand. Meanwhile, the crowd is going crazy for the underdog hero. Dempsey is pulling back on the head and neck of Malenko, knowing this is his chance to move on in the tournament. Alas, Malenko gets the hand of his trapped arm into the face of Dempsey, and he rakes the eyes viciously. Dempsey breaks the hold and clutches his eyes as he rises on the mat. Malenko sells the neck as he crawls away. Dempsey rolls towards the ropes, but before he can get back to his feet, Malenko is back on the attack. Malenko locks Dempsey in the Texas Cloverleaf, and Dempsey screams out in pain, but when he opens his eyes, he sees Bret Hart and the Masters outside the ring. Hart smiles at Dempsey and tells them to do the right thing. It's not too late to just give up and let Hart take him to new heights. Dempsey grimaces at Hart and then spits in his face. Hart's smile melts into an evil, vindictive glare. Hart looks over his shoulders at the Masters and nods. The Masters hit the ring, tossing the referee out of the way. Hart tells Malenko to let him go, and the Masters jump Dempsey. After Hart has decided they've tortured Dempsey enough, he has the Masters clear the ring. Malenko drags Dempsey to the center and locks him in the Texas Cloverleaf. Dempsey instantly taps out as the pain is just too much. Dean Malenko advances to round 2. After the match, KOC.com journalist Sean Mooney catches up with Charlie Dempsey backstage for a quick interview. Mooney asks Dempsey for his thoughts after the match. A battered Dempsey stares into the camera coldly as he says, Masters, you call yourselves masters, here to save the industry from some make-believe straw man that doesn't exist. You're not masters of anything, and you're damn sure not saviors. You're a cancer to this business. Dean, I thought you were better than this. I thought you were all better than this. Dempsey shakes his head in disappointment and walks off. Later in the night, Matt Riddle is seen training backstage as Marlena approaches him. Marlena asks him what his game plan is going into the first round against Zack Sabre Jr. tonight. Riddle smiles as he says, "Bro, I have the perfect game plan, bro. Robbie V and Bobby O have been drilling me nonstop over at Burning Love Ranch, bro. I've had these dudes on top of me all night, every night for weeks." Marlena begins to look visibly uncomfortable as she fidgets in place, and Riddle continues, "I want to be dynamic out there, bro. I'm talking about zipping and zooming with high-octane action, rock-hard strikes, and unmatched technique." Marlena thanks Riddle for the time and quickly exits to end the segment as Riddle stands there with a Cheshire Cat grin. A little later in the show...
What kind of grin? A cat grin?
Cheshire Cat. Like from Alice in Wonderland?
No. Oh, no.
So he's grinning from ear to ear.
Yeah, it's like this means a big smile. Like it's a common idiom. I don't know.
Hey, did you call me an idiot? Fuck you.
A little later in the show, a vignette with gritty sepia filter plays on for Zack Sabre Jr. We see the brown brick walls of a gym in the London Underground covered in dirt and grime. The floors are covered in old tattered mats. There are men drenched in sweat training, drilling the same moves over and over. Everyone looks like they're damn near dead as they struggle to continue. Then the camera focuses in on one man in particular. We see Zack Sabre Jr. covered in sweat and blood. ZSJ is going twice as hard and twice as fast as anyone else in the gym. Sabre's voice comes over the speakers as the video shows him systematically going through everyone in the gym during a time lapse. Success isn't decided by destiny. Success isn't decided by luck. Success isn't decided under the bright lights. Success isn't deserved. Success is earned day in and day out in the gym. I'm sick of hearing who's next. I'm sick of hearing whose time is coming. The vignette ends with Zack Sabre Jr. standing over his fallen gym mates, drenched in sweat. As Sabre lifts his head and looks directly into the camera, the scene fades to black. One last line is delivered. My time is now. Later in the night, Riddle and Sabre meet in the ring for their first round match. Riddle stays true to his game plan, blitzing Sabre with fast-paced, stiff offense at a pace that keeps ZSJ on his back foot. Slowly but surely, ZSJ leads Riddle into trap after trap after trap, dismantling Riddle systematically. Eventually, a hard strike to the head knocks Sabre down, and Riddle looks to hold the edge. Riddle goes for the bro mission, but Sabre was playing possum. Sabre quickly counters Riddle, locking him in his signature Clarky Cat omoplata shoulder lock. Sabre cranks the shoulder, and Riddle has no choice but to tap out. The next week on Clash, we find the Storm Brothers backstage as James Storm is hyping his brother up for his first round match against Owen Hart. Lancey, baby, you're going to tear his ass up tonight. I don't give a damn what family he's from. Ain't no family tougher than the Storms. Dungeon smungin'. As he says this, Owen Hart approaches. Hart immediately dismisses James Storm and focuses entirely on Lance. James protests the disrespect and wants to square up with Hart, but Lance holds him back with one arm as he steps nose to nose with Hart. Storm, you might as well give up now. Forfeit. Because you and I both know you can't beat me. You couldn't beat me when we were kids in Calgary, and you damn sure can't beat me now. I am a world champion caliber wrestler, and you're lucky to be employed because you and your hillbilly half-brother can't lace my boots. I am going to tear you limb from limb. I'll snap your neck if it means winning this tournament. Owen Hart stares into space as he finishes his thought. Once I finish this tournament, the world will see that LeVar Ball is squandering me in favor of that absolute bum, Mustafa Ali. Then Ball will have no choice but to give me what I want. No choice but to book me one-on-one with Mustafa Ali for the BBW title. Owen Hart walks away as he mumbles to himself incoherently. James Storm's face melts from disdain and anger to utter confusion as he watches Owen walk off, immediately spinning to Lance with, "What the hell was that about?" Lance Storm shakes his head and rests it in his palms to end the segment. Later that night, Owen Hart and Lance Storm lock horns in their first round matchup. Owen Hart is desperate to win, and you can see it in the aggression and haste in that he executes each maneuver. Lance Storm, on the other hand, paints a completely different picture. Yes, he's fighting from underneath, but he's calm, collected, and present. Almost as if he's biding his time. Deep in the match, Hart goes for the sharpshooter, but he rushes the execution and applies the hold sloppily. Storm reverses it into a Canadian maple leaf, single leg Boston crab. Storm wrenches the knee dead center of the ring, and Owen Hart has no choice but to tap out. Later in the night, we see Jamie Noble talking to ODB backstage. Man, I'll tell you what, little lady, this company's going down the drain quicker than the damn country is, and let me tell you, that's pretty damn fast. We got the North Mexicans all out of sorts. Bret Hart joined a gang, and his little brother's beefing with the Lion King. Boy so damn focused on fighting Mufasa, he done let Lance Storm tap him. Now, don't even get me started on that damn El Doritos. That damn cow gets in my way every goddamn week, I swear to goodness. He even cost me in the Feast or Fire match last week. He ain't know I was the champion calf wrestler 3 years running down there at the county fair. Hold on. Lost my spot. Only reason I ain't win the fourth is because they cheated me. Put Diet Pepsi in my bottle instead of full flavor. They knew it'd slow me down like putting unleaded in a diesel. It's just unnatural. Now I got $500,000 on the table, and if El Tito Mosquito cost me, ooh boy, you remember how JBL had them steer horns on the front of his limousine? I'm gonna pull off them little tusks off Tostito's head and put them right there on the front of my El Camino. As Jamie Noble rants about El Torito, Eugene stumbles into frame and looks at Noble and ODB with lifeless eyes. I like cows. Moo. Jamie Noble Jamie Noble looks incredulous as he stares at Eugene. Eugene begins to walk off singing, Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O.
Oh, how they massacred my boy.
Jamie Noble is dumbfounded. He turns to ODB and has a meltdown. What the hell was that about? The segment ends with ODB trying to calm Jamie Noble down. Later in the night, Jamie Noble and Eugene go head-to-head in their first round matchup. Jamie Noble is out first, and while Eugene is making his way to the ring, Noble attacks him. Noble is beating Eugene every which way around the ringside area. Finally, Noble tosses Eugene in the ring, and the referee calls for the bell. At the sound of the bell, a switch is flipped in Eugene's brain. As Noble goes to pull Eugene off the canvas to his feet, Eugene reverses with a drop toe hold. Eugene is now wrestling like a world-class technician, efficient with his movements, flawless with his execution. Eugene is really giving Jamie Noble a run for his money in this match, and it's infuriating Noble. Deep in the match, Noble catches Eugene with a running crossbody. Noble rushes in and locks Eugene in the trailer hitch. It looks like it's all over. As Eugene rises on the canvas in pain, Noble laughs at his misery. Then Noble sees something in the crowd. El Torito peeks his head up above the barricade, looking directly at Noble. Noble is incensed. He starts shouting at El Torito. El Torito is taunting Noble from the crowd. Noble is so angry, he breaks his own submission and walks over to the ropes and starts shouting at El Torito as he hangs over the top rope, stabbing a pointed finger at Torito. Torito continues to taunt Noble, leading Noble to leave the ring and confront Torito. Noble goes to grab El Torito, but Torito ducks under Noble's arms, and Noble comically falls over the barricade, hanging by his waist. El Torito hops on the barricade and springboards off of Noble's back with a double foot stomp. Noble sells his midsection before chasing El Torito around the ring. They do a full 360 around the ring before Torito rolls inside. Noble chases after him, but gets flattened by a lariat from Eugene. Eugene then locks Noble in a regal stretch, forcing Noble to tap out. The next week on Clash, Josh Alexander cuts a promo in the ring. Alexander blames everyone and everything but himself for his recent failures. He says Nick Aldis winning the King's Crown tournament was a fluke. Aldis got lucky that Alexander got hurt in the match, and that's the only reason that Aldis won. He says he lost against Tanahashi because he was caught off guard. He says it was a setup. Tanahashi had planned on having that match all along, having studied Alexander's style and refused to give Alexander the same opportunity. He says Tanahashi rushed him to have a match because Tanahashi knows he can't beat Alexander when Alexander is prepared. He says that if it wasn't for Jamie Noble's bull fetish, he would have taken down the briefcase for a shot at the King of the Combat title at Eclipse, but Noble knocked him off the corner while fighting with El Torito. Josh Alexander says he's not going to let anything or anyone stop him from winning the Hélio Gracie Memorial Tournament. And once he does, he doesn't care if it's Nick Aldis or Hiroshi Tanahashi. He is coming for the King of Combat title. A vignette plays showing Abe Lincoln working on his land, cutting trees, tilling the land, and so on. A deep voice narrates the scene. There's a certain kind of promise that doesn't get written down. It isn't signed in ink or sealed with a handshake. It lives quieter than that. In the early mornings, in tired hands, in the understanding that what you build, brick by brick, mile by mile, season by season, might outlast you. Some people chase the dream like it's something out there, waiting behind the next corner, the next deal, the next big break. But for others, it's never been out there at all. It's here. It's in the doing. It's the choice to show up when no one's watching, to keep going when there's no one applause, to measure success not in what's taken, but in what's earned. This is the rhythm of a different kind of ambition, one that doesn't need a spotlight to feel real, because the truth is, the American dream was never just about having more. It was about becoming something reliable, steady, unshakable. The kind of life that doesn't beg to be noticed, but demands respect all the same. And maybe that's what built this country in the first place. Not the loudest voices, not the biggest moments, but the quiet, stubborn belief. An exhausted Abe Lincoln tosses the axe on his shoulder and walks off into the sunset as the final line is delivered. That nothing beats an honest day's work. Later that night on Clash, Lincoln goes one-on-one with Alexander. Joshua Alexander is locked in and unrelenting in his attack. Lincoln is collected and focused, constantly looking for any sort of opening. The two of them have a hard-hitting, brutal match, but in the end, Abe Lincoln connects with a John Wilkes boot and locks Alexander in a gator roll guillotine. Alexander refuses to tap out, opting instead to go to sleep, allowing Abe Lincoln to move on in the tournament. Backstage, we see Marlena approach Steve Corino to ask him what his game plan is for the Hélio Gracie Memorial Tournament. Corino snatches the mic from her and begins shouting belligerently into the microphone. Corino swears he will get vengeance against Kyle Fletcher and he will take the International Heavyweight Championship. Winning this tournament is just the first step on that path. Later in the night, Steve Corino goes one-on-one with TCW talent Pete Dunne. The two men have a fairly standard back-and-forth match. Corino gets to the advantage with a super kick out of nowhere. Corino goes outside and grabs the ring bell. Corino sizes Dunne up, and as Dunne comes to his feet, Corino rushes in, wildly swinging the ring bell at Dunne's skull. But Dunne ducks underneath, grabbing hold of Corino's arm as he does. Dunne locks Corino in a Kimura shoulder lock and cranks it in the center of the ring. It doesn't take long for Corino to tap out. After the match, KOC.com journalist Sean Moody catches up with Pete Dunne and asks him for what advancing to the next round means to him. Dunne says he doesn't make excuses for his failures and he doesn't celebrate the failures of others. He said he's focused on a second round opponent. He doesn't have time to celebrate. There's more work to be done. The next week on Clash, we see the trios champions Shoot Syndicate, Filthy Tom Lawler, Katsuyori Shibata, and Timothy Thatcher, all hanging out discussing strategy when Thatcher's longtime rival turned tournament opponent, Oni Lorcan, walks up. Lorcan walks directly up to Thatcher. The tension is high, but Orkin extends his hand out as an olive branch. Both men shake hands and exchange pleasantries. They talk about all of the hard-hitting affairs that they've been a part of against one another, and the two men agree to leave it all in the ring one last time. The two shake hands to end the segment. The match takes place a little while later, and it starts just as their backstage meeting ended, with a handshake. The match starts with a very respectful technical bout. Each man showed the other ample respect, but it quickly devolved into the hard-hitting brawls these two men have become famous for when they share a ring. Late into the match, Orkin goes for a single-leg Boston Crab, but before he can get it locked in, Thatcher reverses it into a cross armbar. Thatcher has it locked down, forcing Orkin to tap out. Later in the night, former AMP champion Christopher Daniels is training backstage when the Masters approach him. The Masters surround Daniels and Bret Hart stands in front of him. Daniels' tournament opponent, Chavo Guerrero Jr., flanks Hart to the right. Hart tells Daniels he seems like a smart man. He seems like he can put two and two together. It's time to just accept the inevitable. There's no outcome for this match other than Chavo Guerrero Jr. getting his hand raised. He tells Daniels to just forfeit. Daniels laughs in Hart's face, telling them there's nothing that can get Daniels to give up on a shot at $500,000 so the Masters can kiss his ass. Hart smirks and chuckles to himself, so he shakes his head at the floor. Hart raises his head and looks Daniels in the eyes, chuckles one last time, and tells Daniels he doesn't know what he's just signed up for. Hart turns to leave, and the rest of the Masters follow. Kerry Von Erich is the last to leave, having a lengthy stare down with Daniels before he finally slaps Daniels on the arms and walks off. Later in the night, Christopher Daniels goes one-on-one with Chavo Guerrero Jr. Daniels maintains control of the match for the majority of the contest. At one point, the Fallen Angel has Chavo down and out on the canvas. He goes for the BME, but as he leaps to the top rope, Kerry Von Erich comes out from out of nowhere, blasting Daniels with a huge forearm, sending Daniels crashing to the canvas. The Masters hit the ring and jump the Fallen Angel, Chavo Guerrero, or jump the Fallen Angel. Chavo Guerrero locks Daniels in the gory special, and it's not long before Daniels is forced to tap out. The next week on Clash, we see the Masters going over the game plan for Malenko's match against Zack Sabre Jr. The short segment ends with Hart telling Malenko that the Masters have to make a statement tonight against Zack Sabre Jr. Marlena catches up with Sabre backstage to get his thoughts going one-on-one with Dean Malenko. Well, Marlena, I think if you would have asked me that before now, I probably would have said that this is a dream match for me. I probably would have told you that getting to test my skills against one of the very best technicians of all time would mean more to me than maybe anything else in this business. Marlena, I'm not a fool. I know without a shadow of a doubt I am not going out to that ring to face off against Dean Malenko one-on-one. I'm going out there to face off against every last one of the Masters. The rules of the tournament say only a submission or doctor's stoppage can end a match. So there's nothing stopping Hart, Von Erich, Malenko, or Taz from coming down and making this match a 5-on-1 affair. And seeing how they handled their first round matches, I can almost guarantee that's exactly what they do. I'm sure your next question is, how does that make me feel? Well, Marlena, I think it makes sense. Because 5-on-1 is the only way they're going to get me out of this tournament. So, Masters, I hope you fellas are looking for a fight. Sabre Jr. thanks Marlena and heads to the ring for his match. ZSJ and Dean Malenko lock horns in the first round 2 matchup of the tournament. The two put on a technical masterclass. Malenko eventually begins to cheat, raking the eyes, pulling hair, and it climaxes with a deliberate low blow. Malenko tries to capitalize on his newfound advantage, trying to seal the deal with the Texas Cloverleaf. Sabre Jr. is just too good to go out so easily. ZSJ finds an escape from the Texas Cloverleaf and is able to even regain control of the match, locking Malenko in his patented armbar, Article 50. Just as it looks like Malenko might tap, Chavo Guerrero flies into the frame, crashing onto Zack Sabre Jr. with a frog splash to break the hold. The Masters hit the ring and they decimate Zack Sabre Jr. Dean Malenko locks in the Texas Cloverleaf and Zack Sabre Jr. has no choice but to tap. Later in the night, we see James Storm hyping Lance Storm up. He tells him that that's 1 down, 3 to go. And after he beats Pete Dunne tonight, James has a local watering hole he wants to take Lance to celebrate all night long. Lance laughs and thanks James, but then asks if they can be serious for a minute. Lance says this is a big obstacle in his path to winning this tournament. Pete Dunne is no slouch. James blows his brother off and says he's going to steamroll through Pete Dunne. James hypes his brother up and Lance begins to agree. Once he finally says he's going to cut right through Dunne, the man himself appears. Pete Dunne tells Lance Storm he should be more worried about their match. Dunne tells the Storm brothers that they have nothing they should be celebrating. The job's not finished. They have more work to do. Dunne vows to make Lance Storm pay for looking past him. Later in the show, Lance Storm and Pete Dunne met in the ring for their second round tournament match. Pete Dunne is ruthless in this matchup, as if to punish Lance Storm for looking past him. Deep in the match, Pete Dunne goes for a soccer kick to the chest of a seated Storm, but Storm catches the leg, rolls backwards, and locks Dunne in a Canadian Maple Leaf single leg Boston Crab right in the center of the ring, forcing the English native to tap out. The next week, we get a vignette of Eugene's origins. The vignette shows his childhood home and lots of family pictures and home movies. The vignette is centered around an interview with Eugene's parents. His parents say that he's always been a little bit different. They say he was nonverbal until the age of 12, always struggled to connect with people and establish relationships. They say Eugene has always been placed in remedial classes and has had a hard time with nearly every aspect of his life. But he always found a safe haven within wrestling. From the time he was a young boy, nothing could keep him calm like a good wrestling match. Now as an adult, Eugene has shocked the world. Not only by having a life worth living when doctors said he never would, but by being a world-class athlete while doing so. The vignette ends with Eugene's parents saying they love him, and then Eugene standing in front of the camera with an action figure in his hands as he shouts, "I love wrestling." Later that night, a vignette for Timothy Thatcher plays. It shows grainy archival footage of Thatcher throughout his life and career. It shows footage of him in freestyle wrestling as a kid. And then as a teenager, it shows Thatcher rising up on the independents across the world, showcasing his world-class skill set. Finally, it shows off his KOC career alongside Shoot Syndicate. Then the film burns away to a black screen. Smoke begins to fill the black screen, and emerging from it is Timothy Thatcher. Thatcher looks into the camera and simply says, "Everything led me here. No time to stop now." Thatcher lowers his head and walks past the camera as the vignette ends. Later in the evening, Eugene and Thatcher meet for their second round matchup. Eugene surprises Thatcher, not only keeping up with Thatcher, but even surpassing him at times in the technical exchanges. The early portion of the match tells the story of Thatcher underestimating Eugene, and then quickly finding out that Eugene may be more technically skilled than even Thatcher is. Thatcher has no choice but to make this squeaky clean technical exchange a little dirtier. So to remain competitive, Thatcher starts laying into Eugene with stiff strikes. This creates the opening that Thatcher needed. Thatcher uses his decisive striking to set Eugene up for submission attempts. Every time Thatcher has Eugene caught in the hold, he cranks the hold to try to get Eugene to submit. But Eugene seems to always find a way to escape. Deep in the match, Thatcher locks Eugene in a sleeper hold, and it's sunk in deep. Eugene tries to escape, grasping and tugging at the hands and arms of Thatcher. Thatcher leaps on Eugene's back and wraps his legs around Eugene's core, squeezing the air out of him. Eugene carries Thatcher on his back for a while before dropping to one knee. Thatcher squeezes the sleeper hold, but Eugene is just refusing to give up. Eugene pushes himself back to his feet before leaping backwards and crushing Thatcher between his body and the canvas to break the hold. But Thatcher's grip didn't break. Thatcher keeps squeezing, and soon, Eugene's eyes begin to flutter back, and his body goes limp. The referee lifts and drops Eugene's hand 3 times before awarding the victory to Timothy Thatcher. Thatcher celebrates his victory, but when Eugene comes to, Thatcher walks up to him and shakes his hand as a sign of respect. Later on Clash, a vignette plays for Abe Lincoln plays. The vignette opens with a pale sunrise stretching over a field of crops. It's quiet and you can hear the wind rustling through the leaves. Lincoln stands in the center of the field, hands worn from hard work, boots caked in mud. He grabs hold of a shovel and starts digging. The same deep voice from the previous vignette fills the video. Some men are born into comfort. Others are born into questions. Lincoln wipes his brow and keeps digging. Questions like, how far can I go? How much can I carry? What happens if I don't stop? The camera cuts to a close-up of Lincoln's blistered hands, raw from working the shovel. The scene cuts to Lincoln carrying heavy sacks and loading them onto a truck by himself. The land doesn't lie to you. It doesn't care about excuses. It answers with truth. Lincoln stumbles a bit under the weight of the sacks, but catches himself and then rights himself as he keeps walking to the truck. And truth is where it starts. The camera cuts to Lincoln standing in a field alone with the sun high overhead. There comes a moment, quiet, almost invisible, when standing alone stops feeling like isolation and starts feeling like purpose. Lincoln stares out onto the horizon as the sun sets. As the sun dips beneath the horizon, the scene switches to Lincoln sitting at a desk in a dimly lit room, flipping through pages of text and taking notes. Because the fight isn't always with the soil. Sometimes it's with the system that owns it. A montage shows Lincoln red-eyed as he flips through the text, cut to a coffee mug being refilled again and again. then to a pen, scratching notes into a pad of paper. And when the challenge changes, so must the man. The scene cuts again to Lincoln driving in one last post in the ground. He steps back and looks at what he's built. Hard work doesn't disappear. It transforms. The scene changes into a college classroom. Lincoln is seated in class. Everyone is seen discussing and debating. Lincoln raises his hand because standing alone doesn't mean standing silent. Everyone in the class seems to be going against what he says, but Lincoln stays true to himself and doesn't back down. It means speaking when it should be easier not to. The scene cuts to Lincoln pacing in a courtroom in front of a jury. Seated at the table across the room is a group of gossiping. Is a group of opposing attorneys. One against many isn't a disadvantage. Camera cuts to a close-up of his still calloused hands on the tables. It's a decision. The judge nods and tells Lincoln he can proceed. Lincoln walks towards the bench. To carry everything you've learned, every mile you've walked, every burden you've refused to drop. Lincoln stops before the judge and begins to speak silently as the narrator continues. And to plant your feet where it matters most. The scene flashes between various clips, a shovel hitting dirt, book pages turning, sweat dripping, courtroom eyes watching, sweat dripping off his brow, jurors watching on. The field changes. The fight changes. But the man who refuses to quit never does. The scene cuts again to Lincoln sitting in a big armchair in a barely lit room, shadows painted across his face, showing the wear that his life has brought on him. Lincoln's face is focused, unshaken. Work hard. Stand firm. And when the world tells you to step back, step forward anyway. The scene fades to black to end the vignette. Directly after the... Yeah, that's exactly the right kind of voice for this. Yeah. So the scene fades to black to end the vignette. Directly after the vignette, we see the Masters backstage. Hart is furious and tells Chavo Guerrero Jr. that Lincoln put a target on his back, trying to make the Masters look like fools. He gives an order to the Masters. Lincoln doesn't walk out of the arena tonight on his own. Later in the evening, Lincoln goes one-on-one with Guerrero. Lincoln gains the early advantage, and it seems early on that he is simply the better wrestler. Late in the match, Chavo Guerrero Jr. gains the advantage after throwing chalk in the eyes of Abe Lincoln. Chavo uses this chance to get Lincoln on the outside. Chavo focuses on the knee of Lincoln, and hold on, I'm losing my place. Chavo focuses on the knee of Lincoln on the outside. It doesn't take long for the rest of the Masters to make their way to the ring to join in on the festivities. After they complete their 5-on-1 assault, they wrap the knee of Lincoln with a steel chair. Chavo Guerrero Jr. climbs to the top rope and jumps down with a stomp, crushing Lincoln's knee with the chair. Chavo locks Lincoln in with his whiteout single-leg Boston Crab, targeting the injured knee. Lincoln is screaming in pain but refuses to tap. We visibly see Lincoln's ligaments tear and pop in his knee. The doctor has seen enough and throws in the towel to stop the match. The Masters pose in the ring while Lincoln is carted to the back. Bret Hart and the Masters are in the ring for a promo the next week on Clash. Hart says he is sick of giving this roster chance after chance after chance to fall in line. Hart says that what happened to Lincoln last week was a necessary evil, and that the ends will justify the means. Hart tells Malenko and Guerrero they are each one victory away from ensuring a Masters win for the Hélio Gracie Memorial Invitational Tournament. He tells them to not let him down and finish what they've started. Later on in the show, Dean Malenko goes head-to-head with Timothy Thatcher in a semifinal match. Before he makes his way to the ring, Thatcher's Shoot Syndicate brethren, Tom Lawler and Katsuyori Shibata, tell Thatcher they have his back if the Masters get involved. Malenko and Thatcher tear the house down with a brutal fight, a match that becomes a war of attrition, and Thatcher is winning. Thatcher takes Malenko to deep waters, but just when he thinks Malenko is about to drown, Malenko punts him in the testicles. Malenko signals for the Masters to hit the ring, but Shoot Syndicate comes out right after them. A 5-on-3 brawl ensues. Malenko utilizes the distraction to crack Thatcher in the lower back with the ring bell. And Malenko locks Thatcher in the Texas Cloverleaf for the win. Next week, the Masters are in the ring for a promo. Hart says that he keeps warning the world that the Masters are inevitable, that change is inevitable, that tradition is inevitable, yet still so many resist. Hart tells Chavo Guerrero Jr. he has one more obstacle in his way. All he has to do is make Lance Storm tap out. This cues the Storm Brothers to make their way to the ring. The Storm Brothers tell the Masters they got another thing coming if they think Lance is just going to roll over and take it lying down. Lance says he didn't fight through this tournament just to bow down to the Masters. Lance says he's going to beat Chavo Guerrero Jr. tonight, and then at Coronation he's going to beat Dean Malenko and become $500,000 richer because of it. Later that night, Chavo Guerrero Jr. and Lance Storm meet in the ring. Guerrero and Storm put on one of the finest matches of the entire tournament. Lots of ups and downs and back and forths. Eventually, Guerrero gets Storm down, and Guerrero climbs the turnbuckles. Guerrero climbs the turnbuckles. Guerrero leaps down for a frog splash, but Storm gets the knees up before Guerrero makes impact. Storm tries to capitalize on the momentum, but before he can, the Masters circle the ring like sharks that smell blood in the water. The four men get on each side of the ring as Storm stands in the center, waiting their onslaught. Before the Masters can enter the ring, however, the Storm Brothers music hits, and James comes running out with two bottles of beer. James is chugging one of the beers as he runs down the ramp. Taz tries to meet him on the ramp, but James breaks the bottle he was chugging from over Taz's head. Dean Malenko is out next, and just like Taz before him, James Storm breaks a beer bottle over his head. Kerry Von Erich approaches next, and James Storm gives him a super kick, sending him stumbling back. Storm keeps the assault coming, nailing Von Erich with a lung blower, putting the Texan on the ringside floor. Back in the ring, Lance Storm is taking the fight to Bret Hart and surprisingly has the upper hand. Then Hart rakes the eyes of Storm, then chop blocks him as he turns around. Hart tells Chavo to get a steel chair. But when Chavo goes to the outside, James Storm cracks him in the skull with the chair. Storm rolls in and swings wildly at Hart, but Hart retreats. Hart flees the ring and heads into the crowd. The Masters follow suit, all except Chavo. Chavo stumbles back into the ring and eats an Eye of the Storm, which is a jumping leg lariat from Lance into a lung blower from James. Lance Storm locks Guerrero in the Canadian Maple Leaf, single leg Boston Crab, and Guerrero taps out nearly immediately. On the go-home episode of Clash, Arturo Huas brings Dean Malenko and Lance Storm to the ring to sign their contracts for the finals of the Hélio Gracie Memorial Invitational, sans their allies. Arturo Huas tells both men and the audience to take note that neither James Storm nor the remaining members of the Masters are out here tonight, and the reason for that is simple. This tournament has run rampant with outside interference, so if special stipulation has been added to the final match of the tournament, if Bret Hart, Kerry Von Erich, Chavo Guerrero Jr., Taz, or James Storm gets involved in this match, their respective ally will automatically forfeit the match. Malenko immediately protests, and Storm asks him why he's so worried. Storm says they both know why. They know why Malenko is so upset about not having the Masters out there with him. Storm says that they both know Malenko can't beat him without their help. Malenko tells Storm he's full of it. Malenko says when you strip away the Masters, he still has 1,000 holds that says he's better than Storm ever could be. Storm says that when it all settles, he will be the one with his hand raised. The two men square off for the cameras as to end the segment. All right, we're finally to the match. The two men circle the ring before stepping into the center and locking up. Storm transitions into a headlock, but Malenko shoves him off into the ropes. As Storm rebounds back to the center of the ring, Malenko hits Storm with a drop kick to the knee. Malenko immediately continues his assault, stomping at the knee of Storm. Malenko quickly transitions into a knee bar, wrenching the hold as Storm grunts in pain. Storm is able to break free by rolling it to his stomach and mule kicking Malenko in the face. Storm crawls to the ropes and pulls himself to his feet, but Malenko cuts him back down instantly with a nasty chop block to the compromised knee. Malenko drags Storm to the center of the ring and before laying into the inner knee with huge stomps, followed by a standing elbow drop to the knee. Malenko pulls Storm to his feet, lifts him above his head, and brings him down with the shin first with a shin breaker. Malenko drags Storm back to his feet and sends him into the corner. Malenko rushes in, but Storm counters with a big boot to the jaw of Malenko with his good leg. Storm pushes himself to being seated on the top turnbuckle. As Malenko turns back to face this corner, Storm leaps off with a diving crossbody. Storm limps up as the crowd roars. Storm quickly hobbles to the ropes, jumping up and springboarding off the ropes into a single leg drop kick to the chest of Malenko, sending him ass over tea kettle as he rolls backwards. Malenko rolls to his feet, but Storm is right there, sending Malenko into the ropes with a hard Irish whip. Storm catches Malenko on the rebound with a belly-to-back suplex, and Storm is on fire as the crowd showers him in cheers. Storm sizes Malenko up as he stumbles to his feet. As Malenko turns, Storm immediately plants him on the canvas with an inverted sit-out suplex slam. Storm goes for the sharpshooter in the center of the ring. Malenko is shouting in pain as he grimaces and clutches the canvas. Just as it seems Malenko has no option but to quit, he finds an exit strategy. Malenko reaches back and rips the injured leg of Storm back, knocking Storm off balance and breaking the hold. Malenko maintains his hold on Storm's leg, locking Storm in Storm's signature submission, the single leg Boston Crab. Storm shouts in agony as Malenko cinches the hold deeper and deeper. The crowd is behind Storm and uses their cheers as momentum. Storm forces him to drag both Malenko's and his own body across the canvas. Malenko shakes his head no fervently with wide eyes and mouth agape as Storm claws him across the canvas. Finally, Storm reaches out and grabs the hold of the bottom rope, breaking the hold. But Malenko keeps the hold locked in because there's no DQ. I lost my thought or my spot. Hold on. Finally, Lance Storm is able to break out of the hold. But Malenko immediately starts assaulting the compromised knee of Storm. Vicious stomps followed by repeated elbow drops and finally several mat slams to the knee. Malenko rips Storm up from the canvas before blasting him with a double underhook powerbomb. Malenko stays on the offensive as he grabs the ankle of the injured leg of Storm, lifts it, and slams the knee into the canvas several times before locking in the Texas Cloverleaf. Storm looks like he's about like he can't take much more, but in a last-ditch effort, he reaches back and grabs the ankle of Malenko. Storm jerks the leg back and is able to reverse the move. Malenko falls face first into the canvas, breaking his hold on Storm. Storm immediately applies the Canadian Maple Leaf. The crowd roars for Storm as he wrenches the hold on Malenko. Malenko's face is painted in agony as he clutches the mat. Malenko crawls towards the ropes, but just before his fingers can grasp the bottom rope, Storm walks him back to the center of the ring. And the crowd erupts as they know their hero has it in the bag. Just as it looks like Malenko is going to tap, Charlie Dempsey enters the ring, rips Storm off of Malenko, and plants him in the center of the ring with a double underhook suplex before rolling out of the ring. Malenko crawls over and locks Storm's injured leg in a Malenko calf slicer. Storm succumbs to the pain and he taps out. The referee calls for the bell. Bret Hart enters the ring, and Chavo Guerrero Jr., Taz, and Kerry Von Erich join him. Then Charlie Dempsey enters, and Bret Hart embraces him, signifying Dempsey as the newest member of the Masters. The match ends with Malenko posing with the trophy and the rest of the Masters posing behind him. Finn.
Okay. I'll start. I liked Malenko. I'm not gonna lie to you, I wasn't a fan of the Eugene stuff.
That's fair. It was a big swing. It's either a home run or a strikeout. I knew what it was.
Yeah, so I wasn't a fan of that. The promos were kind of up and down for me as well. Like some were really, really good. Like I really enjoyed, and then some were, in my opinion, not that good. I ain't gonna say they were really, really bad. It just was.
Sure. And there was definitely some mid ones in there because I didn't think like every promo needed to be like fully fleshed out with this many.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was already a lot of stuff. So
yeah, no, I get it. So I was fighting in between different numbers, like throughout. So my numbers kept jumping up and down throughout this entire thing. I ended up going with a 3.75 because you were at like a 4.25 for a minute. Like I said, you kept jumping up and down.
Yeah.
But it ended at 3.75 at the end. But like I said, this wasn't bad. It was just because it was longer, you had more opportunities to fail, in my opinion.
Right.
Because
Sure.
more in there. And yeah, so that's my thing about it. So yeah.
I'm not mad at it. I'm hoping everybody else is higher, but I'm not mad at it.
Yeah, and the Right Man won too. Right Man won too as well. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was a little worried about that y'all might think that Lance Storm should win. That's why I tried to make the story like centered around Dean Malenko.
For what you told us, like I said, that was the right move.
Yeah,
that was the right move.
Yeah, and Charlie doing it because technically he's not aligned to either of them.
That's why I specifically listed everybody on that wasn't allowed to come into the match.
Right. Yeah. So him turning heel makes sense. I agree with Kenny. Like he said, there's some ups, there's some downs. I really like the Lincoln stuff. The Eugene, I get what you were going for. Excuse me. And I don't hate it, but I can see it being problematic.
No, for sure.
I really, like I said, I really like the Lincoln stuff. It did at times feel like a Folgers commercial. Was about.
It was supposed to feel like a.
It did feel like that.
I almost ended them with like, this message has been approved by Abe Lincoln, like almost like an uplifting political ad. Yeah. But it was all about like, I don't know if y'all caught the first reference about an honest day's work.
Yeah,
and it's like he's an honest Abe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I like that stuff. I like that. I do agree the right person won the overall tournament. It was a lot. I'm going to give you a 4.
I'll take it.
I can go next.
Oh,
no, you shut up, John. My turn to speak. Yeah, so I really enjoyed a lot of parts of this as well. I do agree that with it being as long as it was kind of like hard after a while. Like there was ups and downs. I feel like at the beginning, like first 10 minutes of it, like I was sitting at a solid, like almost, I was probably edging to a 5, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, it was just like kind of like towards the end there, it was kind of dulling down for me, but I enjoyed most of it, so I'm going with a 4.
I'll take it.
I share a lot of similar feelings. Like I thought the Eugene stuff was kind of a whiff too. I really liked, it was Josh Alexander, right, who was the one cutting like the babyface promos, like the really like more like inspirational ones, correct? Or am I mixing the person up?
Josh Alexander was he was the one saying like everybody like cheated him. Like who did the inspirational stuff? Like
the
can you give me like a reference?
The integrity is like who you are when like nobody's watching them and there's no audience.
I think you're talking about Abe Lincoln. Yeah, the vignettes for Lincoln.
Yeah, Abe Lincoln's fucking gas. And I love that promo. Like I mixed him up. I think I mixed him up with IRL Josh Alexander, who cuts those kind of promos when he's a babyface.
Yeah.
But I loved that promo. I thought that was like something I would watch on TV and actually be inspired by. So that was well done. I thought the match was good. I do think that like it did become a little hard to follow at times because there's so many characters involved.
Yeah.
So it's like hard to follow. And also I thought your use of like my characters as the BBW owner was well done. Owen was accurate. Matt Riddle was really funny. So I'm going to give you 4.5.
I'll take it. I tried to keep yours and Damone's people as like close to who you had, like the characters you have them playing as I could. Obviously, I didn't quite hit the mark with Damone's Eugene, but
yeah,
funny.
You got to that like how I did Black Dahlia, and you were like, she's too good, I guess. That's what it felt like with that.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, there was some good stuff. There was some bad stuff. The match overall was good, but the match was so small compared to the rest of it that the match was like a blink of an eye. I mean, I liked some, I didn't like some. It was drawn out. I'm gonna just go with a 3.
Interesting.
3.
All right. Moving on to the main event. The War Dogs are out in the ring for the first episode of Clash, post No Remorse. Cena is all smiles as he and his dogs celebrate the weekend's festivities. Cena says they did exactly what they are supposed to do at No Remorse. Powerhouse Hobbs showed that Bam Bam Bigelow is a thing of the past, an athlete that can't hang with the modern generation, a guy that must bend the knee to the better men. Cena then says that he did something even greater. He silenced the world. For years, he has had to listen to the audience around the world, bloggers on the internet typing up from their mama's basement, saying that John Cena, despite his many, many accolades and decades as the pinnacle of this industry, saying that Cena can't lace Joe's boots, that John Cena can't wrestle, that John Cena can't beat Samoa Joe in the center of that ring. Cena tells the audience to take a long look at the men in the ring, because they are the new measuring stick. They are the new standard. Together, they are unstoppable. Cena says it's only a matter of time before the greatest of all time becomes the new King of Combat. The next week on Clash, the War Dogs are back in the ring for another promo. Cena says he is molding Hobbs in his image. He says when it's time for Cena to ride off into the sunset, Hobbs will inherit it all. But Cena has a lot left in the tank. And more importantly, he has a lot more to do. Cena again makes his intentions of becoming King of Combat clear. But before he can get much further in his speech, Samoa Joe's music hits. Cena and the War Dogs scramble looking for Joe, but he doesn't come down the ramp. Then Jake Lee spots Joe in the crowd. Spotlight shines on Joe as he walks down the concourse steps with a steel chair in hand. Joe's music cuts and is replaced with Bam Bam Bigelow's music. A second spotlight shines on the opposite side of the arena, and Bam Bam Bigelow walks down the concourse steps with a steel chair in hand. Joe and Bigelow both hop the barricade and circle the ring. Cena shouts at the War Dogs to get him. Jake Lee and Gabe Kidd go after Bigelow, and David Finlay goes after Joe. Bam Bam Bigelow tosses Jake Lee with a pounce before cracking Gabe Kidd over the head with a steel chair. On the other side of the ring, David Finlay leaps out of the ring at Joe, and the two men brawl. Joe gets the upper hand by slamming the edge of the chair into the gut of David Finlay, finishing with repeated shots to the spine with the steel chair. Joe and Bigelow look into the ring to find Cena and Hobbs without their defenders. The two men exchange glances across the ring and smile before both men climb on the apron. Hobbs and Cena are back-to-back as Joe and Bigelow slip into the ring. Rather than engaging, Cena and Hobbs make a quick escape from the ring and flee through the crowd. The next week on Clash, Samoa Joe and Bam Bam Bigelow are in a tag team action against Gabe Kidd and Jake Lee. The match barely gets started before Cena, Hobbs, and Finlay hit the ring and take out Joe and Bigelow. Cena orchestrates total domination of Bigelow and Joe, having the War Dogs put both men through tables, leaving them in a heap. The match ends with Cena and the War Dogs standing tall over Joe and Bigelow. The War Dogs come out the next week and talk about their actions from the previous week. John Cena says Joe and Bigelow got what was coming to them. They couldn't accept their losses at No Remorse, and they chose to act like spoiled, petulant children. Instead of just owning their failures, they lashed out and assaulted the War Dogs with deadly weapons. How does Arturo Huas think to punish them for this? He awards them with a match against Kidd and Lee after they nearly ended their careers with their temper tantrums the previous week. Cena had no choice but to punish them for what they had done. Before Cena can make any further points, Petey Williams' music hits and out comes the Maple Leaf Muscle. Petey Williams comes to the ring and Cena looks confused. Williams grabs a microphone and talks directly to John Cena. Williams says that he's never made the best decisions in this business, and maybe that's cost him in the past. He says that this decision he's about to make probably isn't the best one, and he's pretty sure it's going to cost him. But he's not worried about that. Petey Williams says that John Cena is a coward. He says that the whole world knows Cena can't wrestle, and the whole world knows John Cena damn sure can't beat Samoa Joe on his own. Cena laughs, but his face slowly melts from joy to indignation. Cena snaps his fingers and the War Dogs pounce. They absolutely destroy Williams. The segment ends with the War Dogs putting Williams through the announce desk. The next week on Clash, Samoa Joe, Bam Bam Bigelow, and Petey Williams come together backstage for a promo. Joe tells Cena and the War Dogs that they're scumbags that only fight when they have the edge. Joe says that maybe it's time for Cena to understand what it's like to be outmanned. Later in the night, John Cena has a match against Matt Cardona. The match is pretty standard, with Cena maintaining control for the majority of the contest. After Cena hits Cardona with an attitude adjustment, Samoa Joe's music hits. Out comes Joe, Bigelow, and Williams. The three men look out at the crowd and then back at Cena, and Joe smiles ear to ear. The three walk to the ring and then get on the apron. The entire time, John Cena is screaming for the War Dogs. Joe simply points to the Combat-Tron as Cena looks up and sees the War Dogs have been blockaded into their locker room with a Zamboni. Cena tries to attack Joe, but Bigelow and Williams pry him off. The three babyfaces get comeuppance on Cena, putting him through the announce table to end the match. Next week on Clash, Joe, Bigelow, and Williams explain their actions from the previous week. Joe says they just wanted to give Cena a taste of his own medicine. Joe said they all three felt they deserved to get some payback on Cena. But Joe says that Cena need not worry. He will have all the time in the world for his get back, because this ain't over. Joe says he has weeks upon weeks of ass whoopings for John Cena and the War Dogs, and he's pretty sure Bam Bam and Petey do as well. So it's on sight. Bam Bam says anytime they see one of the war bitches, they're going to get active. Petey Williams says they could have kept this simple, could have kept this about competition, but the War Dogs started a war. Joe comes back in and says the War Dogs started a war that he, Bigelow, and Williams are going to finish. The next week on Clash, we see a video of Petey Williams arriving to the arena earlier in the day. The War Dogs come from out of nowhere and decimate Williams. The segment ends with Hobbs putting Williams' head through the window of a car. Later in the evening, cameras catch up with War Dogs as they jump Bam Bam Bigelow backstage. All 5-men attack with steel chairs, leaving the big man laying in a heap. Finally, Joe makes his way to the ring. He says he's not stupid and he knows what comes next. So War Dogs, get your funky asses out here and let's fight. Cena and the War Dogs oblige. Joe doesn't wait for them to get to the ring. Instead, he brings the fight to the War Dogs. Joe fights back valiantly, but the numbers advantage just proves to be too much. The segment ends with the War Dogs putting Joe through the announce table. Cena leads his War Dogs in the ring the next week for a promo. Cena looks proud, confident, and decisive. Cena says that Joe, Bigelow, and Williams are fools for trying to pick a fight they can't win, to enlist in a war they can't survive. We still outnumber you. We still outsmart you. We still overpower you. We're still better than you in every conceivable way. You cannot win against us. Cena finishes by telling the babyfaces that he controls their stories. He controls their careers. Samoa Joe, Bam Bam Bigelow, and Petey Williams make their way to the stage at the top of the ramp. Neither team rushes in for a brawl. An uneasy tension fills the arena. Joe tells Cena that he keeps talking about control, but he didn't see that last week. Last week, he saw fear. He saw the fear that swirls around in Cena's head 24/7. You know we're figuring you out. You were 3 steps ahead, then 2, then 1, but now we're all on the same page. You outnumbered us for too long, but not anymore. Bishamon's music hits and out walks Hiroki Goto and Yoshihashi. The crowd goes crazy as the 2 Japanese stalwarts stand in front of Joe, Bigelow, and Williams and stare down the War Dogs. It takes little time after this before the 2 teams start brawling. They brawl all over ringside, spilling into the crowd and then into the backstage area. Arturo Huas sends out security, referees, backstage personnel, and then finally the rest of the KOC roster to separate the 10 men. Once the smoke settles, Huas says that he has had enough. He says that if the 10 of you want to kill each other, you can do it at Coronation and Anarchy in the arena. All right, so just giving you all spots because it's a long match, and I'm not trying to do all that writing. All right, so starts off with David Finlay giving Yoshihashi an Into Oblivion, which is a kneecap brainbuster. We get a Death Valley driver onto the apron from Hiroki Goto to David Finlay. Powerhouse Hobbs hits Bam Bam Bigelow with the world's most dangerous slam through a condiment stand. Jake Lee hits Yoshihashi with the overkill, which is a belly-to-back suplex dropped into a facebuster through the announce table. Petey Williams hits Powerhouse Hobbs with a Canadian Destroyer into the thumbtacks. Cena hits Bigelow with a springboard stunner. A Bam Bam Salt off a chain link gate backstage from Bam Bam to David Finlay. Slick kick, which is a running single leg front drop kick through a pane of glass from Gabe Kidd to Samoa Joe. A little while later, Samoa Joe returns the favor with a Uranagi through a pane of glass to Gabe Kidd. Hiroki Goto hits David Finlay with a Shouten, which is a vertical suplex side slam. John Cena hits Petey Williams with a kill switch spin out powerbomb off the apron through a table. Yoshihashi hits a headhunter, which is a front flip neck breaker from the top rope on David Finlay. Bam Bam Bigelow hits Powerhouse Hobbs with a slingshot splash from the ring to the floor. Jake Lee hits Hiroki Goto with a choke slam off the concourse through 2 stacked tables. Yoshihashi hits Jake Lee with the underhook suplex off the announce table to the concrete floor. Petey Williams hits Cena with a slingshot code breaker. David Finlay hits an acid drop, which is it's the Spike Dudley's run up the turnbuckle bulldog. Or it's a cutter, I'm sorry. On Bam Bam Bigelow. Jake Lee hits a moonsault off the concourse on Samoa Joe. Hiroki Goto hits Gabe Kidd with a Kaiten, which is an avalanche sunset flip powerbomb off a balcony through a table backstage. Samoa Joe hits Cena with a island driver sit outside power slam from the middle rope onto a setup steel chair. Jake Lee hits Petey Williams with a D4C, which is Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap, which is a delayed vertical drop brainbuster off the apron to the floor. Gabe Kidd has one arm wrapped in a chain. Meanwhile, Gabe Kidd has one arm wrapped in barbed wire. Meanwhile, Hiroki Goto has one arm wrapped in a chain. Hiroki Goto hits the taco lariat, which is a discus lariat, and Gabe Kidd simultaneously hits a lariat of his own, and both men are out, or down and out. Yoshihashi hits a inverted DDT on the concrete steps to Jake Lee. Gabe Kidd hits Petey Williams with a Madman Bomb, which is a deadlift gut wrench power bomb onto the barricade. Petey Williams hits Jake Lee with a jumping DDT onto a setup steel chair. David Finlay spears Petey Williams through the LED board. Gabe Kidd hits Hiroki Goto with a drill-a-hole pile driver, which is a single leg hook jumping pile driver on the exposed concrete. Petey Williams hits Gabe Kidd with a super Frankensteiner off a ladder. John Cena hits a diving cross body off the concourse to Bam Bam Bigelow. Samoan drop from Samoa Joe to Powerhouse Hobbs off the top rope to the floor. Powerhouse Hobbs hits Joe with an over-the-shoulder sit-out side slam he calls town business onto a car. There's a fisherman suplex off a stage pillar. So, the things that hold up, the lighting and all that. Those pillars there. They climb up there, they're brawling, and he hits them with a fisherman suplex off of that into a pile of pyrotechnics, and they all start going off. You know how it does. We get a greetings from Asbury Park from Bam Bam Bigelow to John Cena. Joe follows up by locking Cena in a coquina clutch, rear naked choke using a chain to get a deeper choke. Cena is eventually able to break out of that, and he hits an attitude adjustment off the stage onto Samoa Joe. Yoshihashi hits Powerhouse Hobbs with an Itadaki Kari, which is a crucifix driver, off the apron to the floor. A little while later, Hobbs hits Yoshihashi with a burning hammer. Out in the parking lot, Bam Bam Bigelow hits a nuclear splash off a loading dock onto a car on Jake Lee. And then finally back in the ring, we get a delayed superplex onto a pile of chairs from Powerhouse to Yoshihashi for the pin and the win. Finito.
I like this one better. It was I like the match. The match was real good. I'm giving you a 4 1/4.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was really entertained by everything you had here. There was like 1 or 2 promos that I didn't love. I particularly think like the war bitches started a war was a little corny to me. That one stood out.
To be fair, before you go any further, I just want to say I had him hit war bitches in the previous feud, and everybody popped for it, and so that's why I worked it into this one, and then I jumped the shark. I got it.
Yeah. But otherwise, like I feel like the match was the big like guffaw here, as it is with most Anarchy in the arenas, as it's gonna be with my Anarchy in the arena in the next show. Like that's just always the best part. So I'm gonna give this a 375.
You said 375?
375.
Yeah.
All right, I'll take it.
For me, I think the match is the best part of it. I think the story was, it's okay. It's not like the best story in the world or anything, but the match is really, really good. You know, I love pyro going off, like people going through pyro. So I'm going to give it a 4.15.
All right. I appreciate it.
Okay. I'm probably gonna be the hater on this one. I was not a fan of the story for this one, but I really, really liked the match. That was the issue for me. Like I really, really liked the match. Wasn't really a fan of the story for this one. I'm gonna be nice and go with the 3.25.
I'll take it.
I honestly was sitting right where Kenny was, 3.25. I thought same thing. Match was pretty good, but the story was kind of lacking compared to the previous one that you gave us.
Yeah, obviously.
I mean,
I agree.
it's kind of, I feel like it's hard going from fucking an hour worth of content to 10 minutes.
20 minutes.
So,
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So it was really hard to judge off of that because, I mean, they're not the same, but.
By the way,
I get
fuck
it.
you, Travis, for another reason. When I did like a 20-minute build for Tony Storm's match, you're like, it's looked forever. It's taking so long. Motherfucker pulls out an hour-long build.
Hey, I'm gonna tell y'all right now, that was 14 full pages of build.
You didn't think to cut
insane.
any of that down?
Nope.
Well,
I only have 2 matches. This is it. We're an hour and 20 into this fucking episode. What does it matter? Like,
We're an hour and 20. We could have been 45 minutes in. What are we talking about?
He said you get one more match.
I like the content that we produce, and I don't want to make it shorter.
You mean
I actually want to give my fans their money's worth.
Who's paying?
they're getting their money's worth?
All 50 cents.
They're
Subscribe to
making
the
that
Patreon.
stretch.
This isn't your actual main event, right? We still got like
It's night
2 more
one main
days
event. Yeah,
Okay.
it's night 1 main
I forget.
event.
I forget.
Did everybody
you
grade?
night.
Yeah, he said yeah, everybody graded. No.
Okay.
Did everybody grade? Yeah,
I think they did. Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like everybody did. I don't know why.
Yeah, that was a very quick rating.
Yeah. He started.
No.
No, did he? Yeah, he did.
John went. Yeah, John.
Yeah, I got everybody's grade in here, so I'm like, well,
All right. Well,
everybody graded.
that's book it.
I thought I
Bye.
started.
You did start, Mike, and he went right after you.
Well, that's book it. Before you go, let's see where you can find our cast members. Hi-Fi Mike, can we find you yet?
Nope.
Man, fuck this guy. How about you, D Money?
You can find me on all the internet things at D Money Book It. So D Money spelled out, book it. And as always, fuck Elon Musk.
Bad guy, can you tell him about your 1,027 shows?
just got 2. But you catch me on social medias at Bad Guy Spoken. Catch the Bad Guy Spoken podcast on YouTube. And you can also catch Hood Movie Review, where review all your favorite and not so favorite hood movies. We just did I Got the Hookup. So that episode should be out. And we just recorded Next Day Air. So that should be out coming soon. So check that out.
Travis T, what about you?
You can follow me on all social media at I am Travy T. That is at IAMTRAVVYT on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, OnlyFans, Battle of the
Only
Bands.
Squirts.
What else am I on?
That's disgusting.
It's just him putting mustard on sandwiches.
In ketchup, it's like with the ketchup, it's like
a little
almost
ketchup
empty.
fart.
Yeah, over and over.
Do it fart.
Yeah.
I can't tell y'all how much I don't find potty humor funny. So like that would never be me. Like never.
Joe, what about you?
Disgusting.
Oh, and follow me on Black People Meet too. I am Travy T.
Cut. Clip.
But I
Hold
put it out there.
up.
I was gonna say that's an advertisement. If
Hey,
anything.
I have a question about that social media for a second. Is this where 2 black people meet, or is this black people meet?
MEET.
Okay.
Hey, Joe a freak. Joe's a freak.
I guess if the first one goes well, the second one can be a thing.
I mean, Travis got no business on either one of them sites.
How you know?
That is hilarious.
Black
And
people waist
lastly,
down.
ooh. And lastly, if you want to go find any of our like other content, other shows, and our lovely merchandise, you can go to T1, spell out the word 3, media.com, and you will see everything from t-shirts, baby clothes, mugs of all your favorite cast members, bunch of cool designs, and a bunch of awesome shows. With that said, that's been an episode of Book It. See ya.
Bye.